I believe so much in how family shapes people. And I think if we do family really well, that's where the foundation of revival can take place in America.
Yeah, that's awesome. The new movie comes out April 26th, and this I know has been kind of a labor.
April 26th, Mom and Dad's 49th wedding anniversary.
How targeted?
So you were intentional.
That was on purpose.
You
We weren't.
No.
No?
Joel, tell them the story.
Here's the story.
Yes.
Here's the scoop. Lionsgate picked a date. Adam Fogelson, who runs Lionsgate, was like, hey, this seems right. It's a couple weeks before Mother's Day. Makes sense.
Yeah.
We were like, great, mathematically, sure. On the phone with Mum later that same week, and we're like, hey, they picked the date, Mum and Dad, it's great. It's April 26th. And she goes, oh, you know, that's our 49th wedding anniversary, right?
And you were like, of course, Mom, I knew that.
And I literally was like, yes.
I knew.
That's why we did it, Mom. But how cool is that? Like, and I did the math. This is the homeschooler math for you. That like, you would think at first glance it's a 1 in 365 chance it could happen. It's not, because April 26th falls on a Friday only once every 7 years, which makes it a 2,555 to 1 possibility.
I have no idea to verify that. I'm just going to believe you.
Just believe me.
With confidence.
I made it up. Just believe
I'm
me.
very,
like,
Joel,
wow.
I'm impressed by you.
She's like, I did not see this coming out of
But
the
I
sky.
thought it's such a cool, like, this is a sort of an adventure drama of miracles on camera, but there's been so many cool miracles like behind the camera, and that was one of them where I was like, we made our plans, but God's sort of ordering these steps.
Yeah.
And that's good.
How do you feel sharing your family story with the world? Is this scary? Is this exciting?
Yes.
Both?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I've said this quite a lot, but there's a song in Frozen 2. All right.
He pulls a lot of his
seen-
theology from Frozen 2.
I've seen
Not from Disney. Frozen 2, no. And the song is just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing.
Sing it for them, Luke.
And I think,
You're a singer.
I think that most of life, I'm going somewhere here, I promise.
If you don't work
is
into the
if
woods,
you-
something.
That's right, exactly. if we as Christians just always not, I think it's very important to dream, have great vision for our lives. But if we could get back to just always doing the next right thing, I think we'd be amazed at the wild adventure that we get to go on. And I think this film has felt like, particularly back when we made the decision to do it, it was just the next right thing. It was something that I think that family has never been more important than it is right now. But yet we do not value it the way that we should.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that this film, yes, it does put our family that is functionally dysfunctional, mind you. It puts us maybe on a screen that's a little bit nerve-wracking. That does not mean it's the wrong thing to do. And I think for us, I'm just always trying to, every day that I wake up, I just want to try and do the next step in front of me. I just want to do the next right thing.
Did it feel like an adventure when Mom pulled out a jar full of cash and said, this is all we have? And part of that, too, is that to me was a really dramatic point in the movie. Where I put myself in that scene, like, I can't imagine my parents saying, this jar is all we have.
Yeah.
Was that how it played out? Was that as it was in life?
So by way of framing for you, too, for those of you who don't know, this is a 90s film. It's a true story. This is a story about a mum, our mum, and Dad who'd lost everything, migrating from Australia to the United States after a job offer, and 6 kids, 1 on the way, moved here, got here, lost the job, and then at that point, Mum, the cat was sort of out of the bag. Yeah. So Mum and Dad really came to all of us as kids, 14 down to 2 years old, and said, we need your help. We looked at that time as kids. It's funny writing this movie and for Luke producing this movie as adults now, because when we're looking at it from adult down, but we experienced it from child sort of up, if you will. Mm-hmm. And we saw it and felt it as an adventure. And the amount of pride that we felt that we could rake leaves and mow lawns, and I would check like the payphones, because this was
find a quarter.
And find a quarter, and it would, vivid memories of like finding. I would literally, I haven't told anyone this. We were going to do this in the film. We cut it out of the film at the last minute, but we would go through grocery stores, and I would sit on the bottom of the trolley, and I would look under the shelves for money, and found I found $20 one day, guys. Is George Washington on the $20 bill? Georgia never looked so good. I was like, I
think it's
felt
Andrew
like,
Jackson.
and you, thank you, Andrew Jackson.
I think.
Edit. And put it back into the family fund, but it gave us a level of autonomy as kids that I feel like now in a family band, or it's us as brothers, our brother's our general manager, brother does lighting, dad's a man, all this, like, we're still enacting the very things that we did.
I have a story that is quite fascinating that just came to me. That so my dad used to do some in Australia. He had a tractor, and he would go and obviously bush hog fields. And so early on, he got a couple of jobs here in America bush hogging fields on a tractor, because people at some point realized we were struggling, and they would find things for us to do, which was amazing.
Bush hogging?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
hogging?
Well, I grew up in the city, man. I don't even know what a bush hog
If you want
is.
to sign,
Look,
when you're driving down the
That's
road,
right.
bush
I'm just going to say
hogging.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was with my dad, and we pulled into a gas station, and we were going on to pick up a check from the job that he had done. And I remember him going and putting in 93 cents into the car, because that's all we had, so he could go pick up the check for doing bush hogging.
I so admire your mom and your dad, their honesty, because if I'm being honest as a mom, sometimes I hide those scary things from my kids, like even admitting like things are tight, kids, we can't do that. And for them to be so upfront, how has that taught you to look at things in life by them being so honest and opening up even the hurts and the hard things they were going through?
I think in many ways for both of us, it's taken, A, it's banded us together like I mentioned, but B, it's actually probably put things like money and success in its proper place. So we saw Dad, at the height of being a concert promoter in Australia, bringing Amy Grant down and Stryper and Whiteheart, and all, and then we saw him come over here and not be able to, like, being sort of shunned in some ways. And so you saw the highs and the lows. We walked through Rebecca's careers. We've seen the push and pull of having a lot and having a little. And I just think it frames up life in such particularly in those vulnerable years where economically we were so unsafe, and yet relationally we were so safe. And so you build this psychology that, man, as long as we're band together, as family, as spouses, as the body, we can overcome anything.
Yeah. I don't want to give away too much to the film, so don't answer this if you don't want to. I know there's a lot to still see, but it feels like the pivotal moment happened when your family stumbled across a certain producer's home. Like,
Right.
is that like, when you look back on that season, was that like the moment where you felt like something's about to break? Like, this is the miracle, this is the moment, this is the thing that we needed to happen to kind of change the trajectory of our family? Or were there other things?
I think there was it got to a point where things were trending upwards. We started this lawn care business, and it was going okay. But what I do find fascinating, speaking of what you're talking about, I asked Eddie, he's talking about Eddie DeGarmo, I asked Eddie during some EPK interviews during the thing, I said, hey, just let me get this straight. Did we really come and knock on your front door and then you say you can mow our lawn? And he goes, oh yeah. And I said, tell me about that. He goes, well, I could tell that this family, you guys were struggling. And he said, I realized, if they're willing to work for this, I could help them by giving them a job. And so then I said, but wait a second, so you're telling me the end of the story is my dad actually knocked on your front door and then years later leaves with a record deal? And he goes, yeah, that's what happened.
We just blew the whole movie, by the way.
That's
Don't
why I
bother,
said-
guys.
That's why I tried to
Can
keep
you
it real
bleep
vague.
that bit out? And it was like, beep, beep, beep.
I tried to leave it real vague. Thank you. But for me, you can look back and you just have to know that's kind of a God moment. Or did you know? Or did you know there was his house and you're like, his lawn looks terrible. Let's go mow that guy's house. Rebecca, go sing.
Well, you bring up something really interesting about the film overall, though, and that is, I remember, so it was 2020. It was in the middle of the pandemic when Luke had called a producer and said, hey, we've been telling this story from stage about our kind of parents' family origin story. What if we entertain turning it into a screenplay? And so if you can picture it, we're at like a Hampton Inn in Iowa, on a drive-in tour, sitting around like a table with masks on, and we're sort of recounting the beats of the story. And Richard Ramsey, who's the primary screenwriter on it, listened to the whole thing. Mom's there, Dad's there, producer's there, we're there. And he looks at Dad and he's like, I'm so sorry that you guys had to go through this. And then he sort of looked at the table and was like, but this is an incredible, this is going to make an incredible film, because all those beats, they're not fabricated. This is not based on a true story, inspired by a true story. It's like even down to those moments early on where like something tragic happens right on Dad's 40th birthday party. Like that happened.
That happened.
And so we didn't have to like sort of try and mangle this into a film. It's like it was already sort of laid out, even down to like the edited camera bits and pieces.
Is it awkward playing your dad? What was that like?
I will say that, you know, the multiverse was strong.
Yeah.
And Marvel's not the only one, I guess, with a multiverse, but it gave such, again, what do we do in therapy? You drop yourself into a moment in time that you were going through something. And I've been pretty lazy with our parents' story, because I'm like, I was there, I lived it. But dropping in, I'm almost Dad's age when he moved now. So dropping in and experiencing someone else's story and the hurts and the traumas, the pain, the pride and the insecurity that they walked through, that you love, and re-imaging that yourself, that was profound. Like the empathy that it has given me for him and for Mum is very different, I think, because of it.
What do you hope when somebody comes to see the movie, they leave learning or feeling?
We, very early on when we had filmed, we obviously made the film, and as I'm sure you can imagine, you do a rough edit. And when you have this rough edit, you know it's like it's going to continue to get better, you're going to continue to refine things, but you have to start showing it to certain people. You've got to obviously build some momentum to what you're going to end up doing with the film. So there was a guy that said, hey, I want to see this film. And he was a guy that works on a ton of movies. And but he was a fairly, as my dad would say, crusty, not maybe the most joyful of individuals.
He's sitting right here.
I just look.
Oh, that was low.
I might be the only DJ who's seen all your movies. I've seen them all.
Oh, have you
So,
seen the Book of Esther?
You're welcome.
Have you seen the Book of Esther?
Please.
Not yet, but I need to. That's the one that's got Lecrae in it, right?
No, Journey to Bethlehem.
That's that one. Okay.
We've been derailed, but anyway, go see Book of Esther. It's fascinating. This man,
Church play called on tape.
it actually is. This man who asked to see the film, not maybe the most joyful individual. And there was this moment where I was like, do I really want to show it to him? Like, we need some momentum coming here. Like, if this guy just rips the film, we've got problems on our hands. But he works on a lot of films, and so it was but he actually kind of knows what's good. So this is, this could be a good thing. So anyway, he sits down, and we play in the movie, and what's the first thing that you do when you walk out of the theater with people? You look at them and you say, what did you think?
Yes, right.
And so he leans over, and he was a little emotional, and he said, I want to be a better dad. And it was really, really powerful because, you got to think, if you rewind back the last 3.5 years of our life, it's a lot to make a movie. It's a lot to tell your family story. It's a lot. And my hope is that people not only will just say that about being a dad, but they will say, man, I want to be a better brother. I want to be a better sister. I believe so much in how family shapes people. And I think if we do family really well, that's where the foundation of revival can take place in America.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think mums feel very seen, we've found, by it too, and I love that. Like, we're sons of a very powerful mum, and brothers to a very, creative, courageous sister, and husbands to incredible wives. And to be able to make a film that lifts up motherhood and lifts up wives, and also from Rebecca's perspective, a lot of teenagers and women who are grappling with who am I and identity and who am I going to love and what am I going to do. Seeing Rebecca sort of work through those things, the greatest compliment we've ever been given in a song and now in this film is when people see themselves in the story.
Yeah.
And they go, I see that. And so yes, it's an adventure. Yes, it's drama. It's all those things. It's 90s. It's got the music, but being able to see yourself in it, the greatest accomplishment to me is that. And when people leave, I hope they go, yeah, I see myself in their story.
It made me want to be more intentional as a mom. And I saw the things that your mom would do with you, and I'm thinking, those are such great ideas, like that prayer, the prayer wall and all. To me, I'm like, yes, like, please, Lord, and thank you, Lord, to see the answers to prayers, especially when you're facing such huge obstacles like you guys were. And it made me. I want to know, though, what was the best advice that you ever remember hearing from your mom giving to you?
One of my favorites is, and I tell my kids this as well, obviously a large family, and, you know, got to a point where as we were getting older, there's a lot of busyness, and there's a lot of, in some cases, missed opportunities. And there would be hey, you can't go spend time with your friends today because I've got to go over here. And one of the things that my mom would say that I thought was very, very powerful, and she would say, Luke, are you disappointed that you didn't get to go do, fill in the blank? And I'd say, yeah, I'm disappointed. And she would say, it's good to learn how to overcome disappointment. And I think that if you follow that through, it's just one of many, right? But if you follow that through, if we got to teach our kids how to overcome struggle, and I think that's probably the thing that my mom was best at. She could take any circumstance and somehow she could bring context to it. And you could leave going, this is a great learning lesson.
Yeah. Going back to that prayer wall thing, did it work for you? Because we have been through seasons in my family of like deep struggle.
Yeah.
And sometimes having that reminder of the things that you're praying for that you haven't seen answered yet, like for my faith at times that backfired. Right. You know, because they're the prayers that don't get answered.
Right.
Things that don't happen. It's good to see a few that do, and I'm sure that helps to help your faith a little bit. But going back to that season when you were walking it, did that prayer wall help? Did it really?
There's so much of Mariah, she said a quote to me this morning, and I'm paraphrasing, but she basically said, like, the quote, but the idea behind the quote was, joy is found in observing. And that when you don't observe, we get so busy and stuck on things that you're just not observing what God is doing around you. Yeah. And I mean, we all, so many questions about prayer and like, does it change things? Does it, or is it just you noticing? I will say though, the documentation then specifically of like, we'd sit in those prayer circles, you'd verbalize, we need a car, we need checked money to car. And as kids, because you would observe the comment and you would put it out, there's something powerful about speaking it out, as a group of people, recognizing your own frailty, recognizing that you're not God, and then observing and like seeing, we genuinely saw, checks to come in the mail that would cover our bills by dollars, or, we didn't have any way for Liberty to be in a hospital and someone would cover the bill and, for the longest time didn't know who. And like, so the short answer is yes. And there are other things like Luke spoke about that felt unanswered or felt like silence.
Mm-hmm. My son came to me a little while ago on this topic, and he was having some issue. And I was just like, hey, man, these are the things, you're just trying to be a good, faithful dad, Christian dad. I was like, man, these are the things you pray about.
Yeah.
And he goes, I tried, it didn't work for me. And it was an interesting one because, no parenting books have you prepared for that question.
Yeah. Right.
And I said, man, sometimes it's in the petitioning of God that our hearts are changed. If you're looking for your back to be fixed because you have scoliosis, it may not happen necessarily the next day. But in the process of praying, sometimes it shifts our heart. Mm-hmm. It gives us greater compassion for other people, maybe going through similar things. And I think, obviously, if we want our kids to follow Jesus, they need to see evidence of miracles and God's faithfulness in your family.
Yeah.
And some of that is, as Joel said, you talk about these things, there's disappointment. This world is filled with disappointment. You're never going to be able to run away from disappointment. But what do you do with that disappointment is, I think, where prayer shapes who you are.
Yeah. I'm excited. April 26th, on the 49th anniversary of your parents' marriage.
We're dubbing April 26th Family Day.
Family Day.
You got Mother's Day, you got Father's Day.
Why not Family Day?
Why not Family Day?
Yeah.
As long as dessert's involved. I'm going to say
the theater can arrange.
It's very expensive.
Plenty of dessert.
Yeah, I heard there's
going to be but they provide that. Yeah.
There's Vegemite. There's Vegemite there.
Perfect.
Okay.
We can provide Vegemite.
We want the film to be successful.
Yeah. I love it.
No, but I'll say this, in closing, one of the things that we found really striking about music and movies, and we touched on this a bit earlier, but is music, you have years to sort of promote a project and release this single and this collaboration, and we love that. But what's crazy about movies, and it's exciting, but it's also terrifying, is like you have a weekend in theaters. I mean, that weekend will determine if it stays in theaters for 2 weeks or 6 weeks, you know. And so our encouragement, man, it is an adventure. It's this joyful, dramatic adventure. It's nostalgic, it's miraculous, it's family, it's mums, it's all those things. But come out on Family Day. Like, come out on the 26th. And you know, experience it that weekend. If you plan on doing it,
come out that weekend.
Come out that weekend.
We need you.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that take place that you don't see coming. So please, and it's thoroughly enjoyable film. You asked me last time after Priceless, you were like, how was it? Did you like it? And I said, it was good, very good. Ask me again. How about this film?
Hey, how was Unsung Hero?
Really good.
Oh, this is
Yeah, I'm excited. And I'm excited for people to see it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Thanks for taking the
Thank
time.
you.